Let's hope that adds a couple of million.
Let's go. Good morning, everybody. Once again, John Richardson and Charlie McCann are with us. Charlie's in Gibraltar, Rico's somewhere. And we've got to start with Rico's in Chester or near Chester, because there's only one story this week, that the Chester City Zoom calls, the Zoom call with the manager, Anthony Johnson, was interrupted, shockingly, when some Zoomers were putting porn on the videos. And I wondered if John Richardson has any knowledge or anything to do with this.
My expertise this morning, Rob, is more not about porn, it's about badgers. I've been having problems with badgers. Badgers have been ransacking our refuge, you know, where you put your slops out, the old food there. I think it must have a pair of step ladders, because I put it right on top of this bin. It still managed to be in there. So I'm sorry, forget porn. It's all about badgers.
It's all about, we have to say as well, it's all about Everton this week, and it's all about the FA Cup, which is very rare when we talk about it, because of that astonishing game, the 5-4 game, Everton against Spurs, following on from the 3-3 at Manchester United. But Charlie McCann has been telling everybody how good Gylfi Sigurdsson and Bernard have been for Everton, and Gylfi, man of the match, lays up the winner for Bernard. Charlie, what were your thoughts? Certainly me and Rico were giggling as the goal went in.
The dream.
Terrific goal, wasn't it? A terrific goal. It was what one under par, and what I mean, he conceded 2 goals. When he was I mean, what do you want me to say? You know, one.
We wanted you to tip your hat
dropped against Manchester United. It's great news that Everton. Unfortunately, the next thing you know, I said to everyone, "We'll get Manchester City." Fair enough, it's Manchester City home. It's the one year when it doesn't matter whether you play home or away. And Manchester City in a quarter-final at Goodison, the place would have been the old lady would have been absolutely rocking now. Yeah, they're just so good at the moment. But no, just scored 8 goals. If you'd have told me this time last week Everton would score 8 goals against Manchester United and Spurs. But I mean, Everton were hopeless in the first half at Old Trafford, never passed forward, and they were almost obliged to. And let's give credit where it's due. Spurs took the game to Everton from the absolute outset. They could have been 2-0 before they scored in the 3rd minute. And then we've been sort of quite critical of the negative tactics of Jose Mourinho at Spurs. And that was really entertaining Spurs. And Spurs were, again, arguably slightly unfortunate. Everton have had the rub of the green this week. But for somebody like me, I'm happier about the performances of somebody like Tom Davies this week, a local lad, rather than somebody who I know is not good enough, but who has hopefully put a couple of million quid on his price tag, which is Gylfi Sigurdsson. But 8 goals, fantastic. And Bernard, what a strike that was, and what a fantastic assist. That was a proper assist. And Sigurdsson had 3 involvements, and when they were quality, but unfortunately he was only 1 under par because he gave 2 goals away down the other end.
Do you know what? You can never get a happy Everton fan and Charlie McCann, can you, Rico?
I'll tell you what, I've got to echo Charlie's sentiments about Tom Davies. Never been as big. I don't think many people are. He was magnificent in midweek. His energy, he was running, wasn't he, as fast right at the end that he was at the beginning. Magnificent.
And we said at the start of the season, Everton's 3 signings. James, not there. Alan, what did I say? I went through his record, injury prone. Doucouré, fabulous. He was immense. He was absolutely immense, because you've got to remember, he and Tom are doing the midfield running, because Gylfi only comes into the game every quarter of an hour, albeit quality on this occasion. But Doucouré, I'm sorry, I thought I've been Godfrey's as well. I'm slightly disappointed Godfrey back out to right back rather than in the central defence. I think that's where he's going to play for 10. But Doucouré, tremendous signing, and he was, I thought, inspirational against. And great to see the emergence of Tom Davies. And instead of passing it back, taking the ball forward and playing. And you know, it'll be interesting to see how, you know, we adapt against Fulham, who of course will not go at us, I don't think, as much as Spurs and Manchester United have in the last week.
I think you're right, Rico, as well, though. Sorry, go on, Rick. I was just going to say Tom Davies to Corey.
Yeah, I was just going to mention Jose Mourinho. As Charlie said, you know, it was amazing, really, the way Tottenham started on the front foot. But I think that's the one and only, because Jose now turn around and say, well, this is what happens when we attack. You know, we get done. So it's going to go back to being pragmatic. And I hope we're going to talk about Chelsea last night, because Thomas Tuchel, not for me. Anyway, we'll move on to that a bit later.
Well, no, we're going to stay. We're going to stay with the FA Cup. Why not for you, Rico? Surely there's a guy who's coming. He doesn't. Obviously, he's watched the Premier League. He's got to have a little bit of time to settle in. What's wrong with Thomas Tuchel?
He's too defensive. It's. I mean, he plays three central defenders against Barnsley. I mean, you know, he has the backs, but what happens then is Pulisic has to move inside, and Hudson-Odoi goes inside. So it's all cramped through the middle, and the ball's going sideways. It's going backwards. There's only Hudson-Odoi really that showed any energy. Tammy Abraham played at both ends, but for me, I don't think I know some of the Chelsea fans are not having him already. Don't forget, Frank Lampard was a legend. Okay, we can look at Frank, and maybe it didn't work for him, but at least they were, you know, better on the eye, more attractive. Yes, Chelsea will win games. They're very solid. They're very compact, but they've lost that zest, that enterprise. So it's ridiculous to say, you know, make a judgment yet. But so far, what I've seen, I haven't been impressed. They're going to win games, but they're not very pleasing on the eye.
I tell you what, it's a cracking FA Cup draw for not Everton, Manchester City, Leicester, or Manchester United, isn't it? I mean, for Chelsea, they're sitting there going, well, we've got Sheffield United at home. It's Everton, Man City, Bournemouth against the Saints, South Coast derby, I guess you kind of call it. Leicester, Man United, Chelsea, Sheffield United. It's opened up, hasn't it, for Chelsea?
Yeah. People go on about, the big clubs don't bother about the FA Cup. Well, just look at the record. You know, it's always a top four club that usually wins it, and the same thing will happen again this season. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's opened up for Chelsea. They should beat Sheffield United. Got a great record in the FA Cup, haven't they? You know, they're probably the most successful FA Cup side, along with Arsenal, in the last 20 years. So, you know, same again for Chelsea.
We've got to tip our hat to Manchester City here, Charlie, because not only have they won, 15 on the spin, which is a record, it's Pep plays pretty much his best team in every competition, including the cup competitions. I mean, I know Rico's had his little go at Pope Pep at times, but I mean, they're streets ahead, aren't they?
Well, they are at the moment. They are streets ahead, and they showed at Anfield. They were streets ahead of a disappointing Liverpool team. A disappointing Liverpool team on and off the pitch. I think Klopp's antics again are, you know, I think they're beginning to grate with everybody now. He can't give him excuses. By all accounts, he absolutely slaughtered a journalist for asking him, have you got any chance? Not a British journalist, an Israeli journalist, for asking him, have you got any chance of winning the league? I mean, is that not quite, you know, if you're the champions and you go down to, they're 20-1 on, so you could argue, yes, Manchester City are going to win the league. But I think it's disappointing what I must say that Klopp has, how he's carried himself over the last few months, always looking for excuses. The bottom line is that Liverpool team, I know they've had problems in the central defence, but we said this time last week, John, you said Davis would be on the bench. He wasn't. I said Obzak would play. He hasn't. He didn't play against Manchester City. So the cavalry haven't arrived in the central defence. They had the whole of January to sort this out. What's happened? I know what John's going to say. John's going to say there are financial problems. But I don't know how much these guys cost. It obviously wasn't an arm and a leg. But, with Liverpool doing that with a view to next season. But of course, with next season, you're going to have Gomez. Matip, I think, will not play for Liverpool probably again. But you'll have Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez back. You've then got these two guys. I don't know. To me, I'd have thought they should have gone for one Premier quality centre back. And we all thought that at least one of Fabinho or Jordan Henderson would play in the midfield against Manchester City, but they were completely overrun. Again, I don't get Gini Wijnaldum. I can't have all these people telling me that he's he's good. He's living on a couple of goals. He's as good as that. And I do think that Liverpool Football Club know how good he is. And that's why they won't give him the money. Because they think he's done very well for himself. Thank you. And I think this is a period almost now of slow transition at Anfield. But I do think he's getting on my wick a bit. And Liverpool's a great, and they don't deserve this.
I have to say, so condolences that Jurgen Klopp's mother died in the week. He's not been able to go to her funeral, which is just so sad. It just doesn't bear thinking about. Certainly, our thoughts and condolences with him. Rico, in fairness, old Nostradamus himself, I've read a lot in the papers this week. People are picking up on what you've been saying on this programme all season, that Jurgen Klopp wanted various players in the window. He wasn't giving them money. In his Mail Sarr story this morning. It doesn't look happy, and I think it's a transition, isn't it? I mean, it's a bigger word as that for Liverpool.
He's not happy. Obviously, I speak to people, quite close to the club, and I'm not making it up. They've been telling me, behind the scenes, all is not well. You've got the owners who've lost a lot of money in the baseball. Boston Red Sox, they've been losing, I think $70 million over the last few months. Obviously, that's going to impact on the football club. But even last summer, there were problems. I was told that, Jurgen wanted certain players and they were saying no to him. We can't afford it. And as Charlie alluded to, and he's right, in January, they were definitely going, well, Jurgen Klopp was going for other players. I know he wanted Ben Davis, not Ben Davis, Ben White even, Ben White at Brighton. I think Brighton, to be fair, turned that down, but, he wanted them to go in with a 30, 40 million bid, and it just wasn't happening. So, yeah, I think in the next few months, a lot more will come out. And I think the summer is going to be a crucial period. I'm not saying Jurgen Klopp will go, but I think there will be doubts over his long-term future. He's certainly not here for the next 3 or 4 years, maybe one more year. I think things are happening behind the scenes. He's not happy. And I've got a feeling that the German international job will come up after the Euros, if they ever take place. I think Jurgen will definitely be in the running for that. And I think he'd fancy it in the present circumstances.
Charlie, would you give Edison Cavani a contract?
No, he's a good player. But again, he's not somebody to sort of, he's probably playing for a contract at Manchester United. Of course, he's a fine player, and people are saying to me, will say, all these guys on the telly will say, oh, he's great in training and he can sort of, we'll give him a job on the coaching staff. Of course he's good. Of course he's good. He's not great. I think there is this myth about him. I'm quite, cynical with regards to his age as well and things like that. And it will catch up to him. And, this is not the Edison Cavani of so many years ago. I'm sure he looks after himself, etc. He probably will want 2 years. No, it would be when you see what Zlatan Ibrahimovic is doing should they have kept him on Manchester United rather than, but no, I don't think that he is one for the future of Manchester United, and I do think that Manchester United have got some really good foundations. But no, if it's just a personal opinion, I don't think I would. I think they should say whether Martial is the answer. I don't know, but I would think that they need to get somebody like Haaland or whatever. But again, I'm told that Liverpool are very, very keen on Haaland.
Rico, would you?
I can't say much more than you said, really. He's been a fantastic player. He's certainly not one for the future. His wages will be prohibitive. No, I think you've got to move on. And I think that Haaland is the one they want. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, knows him well from the past and thought he got him. But of course, we all know who the agent is, Mr. Raiola. And things aren't good between him and Manchester United, so that'll have to be sort of smoothed over. But I think looking to the future, also there's a player that's not doing too badly at Inter Milan called Romelu Lukaku. What happened to him? He wasn't given a real chance there. So yeah, in answer to the question, no, he's had a good season, but you have to plan for the future.
Talk about the future. How does Steve Bruce plan for the weekend? Bearing in mind, we talked about how important the Southampton game was. They won 3-2. Callum Wilson out for 8 weeks. Shares out. They've got all. It never rains. It pours for poor Brucey.
And Manquillo's out for 8 weeks as well. Who's
yes.
So it's the time for Joe Linton to rise to the occasion.
Smoking Joe Linton.
I do think it's not really Joe Linton. It's just somebody who's won a prize to play for Newcastle. Anyway, let's just see. But he'll have to. Well, there's also Andy Carroll, of course. If he can play, more than one game, and you got Dwight Gale. I'm a Dwight Gale fan, but he has to play alongside a big man. So it is a blow. Callum Wilson has been one of the best players. Fabian Schär has got the potential to be one of the best central defenders in the country, but is injury prone and also looks after himself a little bit too much. Manquillo has been exceptional at right back. I think he's Newcastle's best right back. Yeah, so it's a struggle, but that was such an important win against Southampton and an amazing win, with 9 men. So very important 3 points. I think there is now just enough points that the cushion is decent. So I think Newcastle just need maybe 2 or 3 more wins and they should be safe, but getting there slowly. But again, what's happened to Steve Bruce, this week has been shocking, as it has for other people, the abuse you get on social media. I'm on social media, but I hate it. Absolutely hate it. Nobody's got a good word to say about anybody. It's vicious. It's malicious. I wish it didn't exist, but we've certainly got to crack down on it. It's not just racist abuse; it's general abuse. And it's shocking.
Are you a social media buff, Charlie?
Hardly. No. I did in one of my. When I was, I actually used to be Victor Chandler. When Twitter first started, I said to Victor, we need to become involved in Twitter, and so rather than to sort of be Victor Chandler, the business, I was actually Victor Chandler, and of course, people it's not really you, Victor, because I'd say some sort of, should we say?
Something about Gylfi Sigurdsson or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. When Gylfi was just a twink in some guy at Swansea, and I used to but they would try and catch me out by saying, "Well, what about such and such?" And normally, of course, they say it with regard to horse racing. So, of course, I'd come straight back because, of course, but I think some people knew who it. But so I've been really involved in Twitter since its infancy. And then used to run other Twitter accounts. But my own, I've only recently sort of got involved. I was always, but of course I wouldn't. I could concur with the racist abuse is extraordinary, and how people can be allowed to get away with it, and to not have for the Facebooks and the Twitter especially, not to know and not to be able to just say to the police, that is the name and address of the person who's just sent this vile, abhorrent thing to somebody who, you know, is doing their best. But unfortunately, he or she generally is in the public eye. I'm sorry, as John said, it is something that we have to tolerate it, but it can't be good. It can't be good for, and how these people, I know it's in lockdown and things like that, and people have got more time on them, and they're not in good form themselves. But how can you get up in the morning and think that is, or if your team has just, you know, had a bad result and you particularly blame it on, you know, I do take the mickey out of Gylfi and things like that, but I hope to say, gee whiz, it's not like that. It's horrible.
I agree totally with you both. There's just another point I was thinking about this week, Rico. Do you think our tastes in football watching from a TV point of view have changed during lockdown? Because I find myself, if I get to 5:30 and there's not a game on the TV, I feel a bit cheated. And I just wonder, I mean, there's football every single, good top class or championship football every single night of the week, couple of games. Do you think because we've had this, that in the future we'll always want it, or we'll always have it?
No, I'm going the opposite way. I think we're saturated with it, and I know, speaking to a lot of mates, they can't watch every game. You know, they just watch the odd game. I think it's too much of a good thing. You know, I think sometimes less is more. You know, you look forward to something. But if there's 2 or 3 matches on every night, you think, oh, here we go again. And also, you know, okay, you know, I'm lucky enough, I'm privileged. You are, Rob. We still go and watch games, but again, it's not the same without fans. You know, I don't care what anybody says. A lot of the games, okay, I think the standard's been very good, and I've been surprised at that. But it doesn't have the same passion, commitment of games with fans. There's hardly any flare-ups. You know, it's so namby-pamby, some of these games. You can think of games that used to go off in the tunnel before it kicked off. Arsenal, Man United, etc., etc. You know, got the Merseyside derby coming up, haven't we, next Saturday? And, you know, you'd normally say, oh, yeah, fantastic. But, you know, it's going to be more sanitised. It'd be decent, but it's not the real thing. So, you know, in answer to your question, for me, every game has to be, well, every Premier League game has to be covered on TV, but it's all too much. And just going back to Charlie and Victor Chandler, Victor Meldrew would be far better, wouldn't he?
Hey!
Not to get all this. Sorry, John.
Charlie, last one for you. Harry Redknapp's on Soccer Saturday this weekend. He's got a horse. Shake him up, Harry. Wild about Harry. What is he? Has he got any chance? What's he doing? This horse? What's it running in?
It's running in the rescheduled Betfair Hurdle a week on Sunday, and I backed one horse in the race. The race, I think you now, because the race was due to be run tomorrow, is being abandoned. But we will be run a week on Saturday, and I've only backed one horse in the race. It's one of my favourite races of the year. It's called the Betfair Hurdle, and I've only backed one horse in the race, and it's called Shake 'Em Up Harry. It's 16-1. And yes, so you're talking to the wrong person. I think it's got a great chance. It got beat 12 lengths by the favourite, Meteor, last time in the Tolworth Hurdle at Grade 1. And it's £13 better off. So it's got £13. You know, there's a discrepancy in the weights. And the favourite, Meteor, is trained by a guy called Harry Fry, who's one of these guys who's really hot and then cold, really hot. And at the moment, but it's 8 days away or 9 days away from the race, he's in a bit of a cold period. So I think he's got a great chance. I've actually narrowed it down to 4. You shouldn't have got me on this. I've got Kadzand, Soaring Glory, Meteor on the back foot. But I've backed one. I have backed Harry's horse, Shake 'Em Up Harry. I think it ran over 2.5, too far first time out. I think this should be fine. It ran really well at, I think, behind Shiskin here as a novice at Newbury. And no, I think it's got a great chance. How do you know about that?
He did an interview. I don't know what it was for, but they were talking about his racing. He's saying, how it came in the family. His nan used to be a bookies runner, and then he was explaining why it was Shake 'em Up Harry. And there's another one. He said when he played down the chicken run at West Ham, somebody would be like, "Hurry up, Harry," or something. So he named him after
Harry. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I didn't realise it was abandoned, but he was talking about it as in being on Soccer Saturday. He'll have to nip out to watch it, etc., etc. So I thought, so it's got a chance, though, obviously.
Yeah, 16-1. It's when the declarations come out, there's no reason whatsoever. It's trained by a guy called Ben Pauling. Now, his horses were running like old goats last season. There was something wrong. He's a really good trainer. They were running poorly. And Harry's horse, the Shake 'em Up Harry, was one of the few horses that ran really well last year when there was a cloud, should we say, over the yard. And this year, I don't think it's been campaigned particularly well, but, and by that, I mean, it's been put in the right races and things like that. But I think this is perfect for it. And I just think 16-1 is a decent price, a decent each way price.
Rico, what have you got for Sunday for us? Have you got anything that we can be let into? Any secrets?
Yeah, well, I've done a piece on how difficult it is to retain the league championship.
Yep.
Spoke to a few people about that because, as you know, very few clubs, have done it. I think there's 6 or 7 managers since the Second World War have managed it. There's only one Liverpool manager managed it. Who was that, boys?
I'm going to say Bob Paisley.
Paisley, I just said.
Yeah. Correct. Also done a piece on Jack Harrison of Leeds, who a lot of people forget. He's still
Manchester City.
And he's on his 3rd season. And in this day and age of inflated prices, his agreed fee, if he signs, and I'm sure he will in the summer, is just 10 million.
Right.
Yeah, but he's come a circuitous way. He went to America, blah blah blah. So it's a good story to be told. And also, I've done a piece about Shrewsbury and how they're managing with Steve Cottrell still in hospital. So, that's quite interesting.
Listen, Rico, enjoy the weekend. Charlie, enjoy the weekend. Thanks for joining us, fellas. We'll do it all again next week. Have a great week.
And you guys. Cheers, lads.
Bye.
See you, fellas.
Bye now. Bye-bye.
Victor.